For the past 6 months, I have removed politics and current affairs from my life completely. And it has been an eye-opening experience for me. I used to spend hours a week consuming politics and current affairs. I'd get caught up in all of these strange causes that didn't affect my life in any way. This year, I've removed politics and current affairs from my life completely, and it's been an absolute game changer. Not only have I saved myself an insane amount of time, but I haven't actually missed anything important. This is how I removed politics from my life completely and how I stay up to date without spending any time on it. One of the biggest reasons that I removed politics completely is that I noticed that I was just focusing and worrying about things that were completely outside of my control. When you think about what you spend your time doing when you're consuming politics and current affairs, it's typically either worrying about what a political candidate is doing, worrying about a political race, worrying about wars going on, worrying about famous people dying, worrying about massacres and school shootings. All of this stuff you have basically zero control over. None of it you have any control over, but it consumes a huge amount of your mental capacity. A lot of your mental space, a lot of worry, anxiety goes into concerning yourself with politics and current affairs. And the reality is, what do you do with that information? You don't really have anything to do with it. There's nothing that you can actually do with that information other than just worry about it unnecessarily. And when you take up a huge amount of your mental space, worrying and stressing over things that you have zero control over, it just makes you feel like a totally powerless person. You just think, oh God, there's all these terrible things going on and I can do nothing about it. I just have to sit there and watch. What's the point of digesting that information? What's the point of receiving that information in the first place if you can't do anything about it and it is making your mental state worse? And it is taking up a huge amount of time. It makes zero sense to allocate any mental resources to something like that. Something that is just stress, just worry, just concern that you have zero control over. I would rather allocate as much, if not all of my attention to things inside of my control, things within my life that I can change in some way to improve my life. I don't see any point in worrying about this stuff. I really don't get it anymore. I used to be so concerned with all of this garbage, all of this nonsense, but the reality is nothing really changed. Nothing about my life changed whatsoever, except that I was just stressed and worried about useless information. The second big reason that I quit consuming politics and current affairs is that it is literally just there to brainwash you. It is there to control a narrative and make you think in a certain way. I mean, why are there only two opinions? There are millions of different things you could have opinions over. What is the likelihood that you share an identical opinion with someone else about 50 different unrelated topics? Now, what are the chances that half of the world think in the exact same way and the other half of the world think in another way? There's two opinions, which tends to suggest that you are in some way having your opinions, your values controlled by who you're listening to. I'm not listening to what are your opinions about something. I'm listening to what are Ben Shapiro's opinions about something or what is CNN's opinions about something. They're not original, nuanced opinions. You haven't put any critical thought into any of this. You've just heard what the person that you think is correct is saying and you just go with that. You say, oh yeah, well, he seems to be like sort of aligned with me, so I'll just believe everything that he thinks. I don't need to worry about thinking for myself. I just think on this side, or I just think on that side. And you just become diluted as a human being. You don't actually think independently. You think in a hive mind. You think like everyone else. You just completely brainwash yourself. And this is exactly what happened to me, is I just brain myself into believing everything on one side. And the other thing that happens when you do brainwash yourself is that now everyone here hates you. 50% of the world hates you for your opinions and 50% of the world likes you for your opinions. You become a very polarizing person based on opinions that aren't even yours. Why on earth would you polarize yourself, make yourself a diluted individual when they're not even your opinions, when you don't even truly believe them? You've just heard someone talk about them and you go, yeah, well, I guess I believe all that stuff. Makes zero sense to me whatsoever and was one of the big reasons why I quit consuming politics and current affairs. Real quick, if you would like to reach peak performance, I've left no stone unturned to give you everything that you could possibly need, including an entire course on how to remove all online distractions, including politics and current affairs. If that is at all interesting to you, I'll leave a link in the description below. The third massive reason why I quit consuming politics and current affairs is because you're essentially only consuming negative information. The reality is, when it comes to the news, when it comes to politics, people are going to tell you what gets the most clicks, what people are the most interested in. And just naturally, as human beings, we're more interested in negative things. So they're going to keep consuming and keep producing negative things. I mean, think about what you've consumed in the news over the past week. It's probably been like a plane crash, probably a school shooting, someone dying, something bad that's happened with a politician, some sort of scandal, some sort of celebrity issue. It's all negative stuff. You're not hearing, wow, this person did so well, this is such a great person. You're hearing, this guy's the worst person in the world, they just had a drug overdose, this celebrity just died, there was a school shooting over here, plane crash over here, wars going on, people dying, blah, 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 blah. All just negative information, and you're just sucking all of it in. You're just sucking in all of that negative energy, and that just becomes part of you. You're just constantly consuming negativity all the time, and then you perceive the world in a negative way. Why would you want to consciously consume negative information which you can do nothing about, which you cannot control whatsoever? It doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. It makes zero sense to be consuming this information that's just providing a huge amount of negativity. But the reason you do it is because it's somewhat interesting and you can rally behind a cause that you believe in for some reason, even though it has no impact over your life and the opinion you don't even really necessarily hold. So how have I, someone who's removed politics and current affairs, doesn't consume any of it, not missed out on any important information? Let me introduce to you a fantastic little concept here. This is something that I've been using that has allowed me to get all of the important information going on in the world without having to spend any time on politics and current affairs. And that is shit sifters. Now, what is a shit sifter? Well, right now, you might be a shit sifter. In fact, most people are shit sifters. This is quite hard to say over and over again. But what that is, what a shit sifter is someone who consumes politics and current affairs, which is basically every single person. What happens when you consume politics and current affairs? Well, you're receiving a huge amount of information, a huge, huge volume of garbage, essentially. Now, what can you do with that information? Well, you can't really do anything. This can't change your life in any way that you can control. You can in no way control the outcomes of this information. You have to basically sift through all of this garbage, all of this shit, and find something that might be interesting. At the end of the day, you can't do anything with any of this information, but this might be interesting. And that little nugget of interesting information in that mountain of shit, you then go and tell other people. Because that's the only thing you can do with this information, is you can just tell other people about it. So guess what happens when people consume politics and current affairs? They dig through all of this crap, all of this garbage that they're receiving. They find something that might be interesting and they tell other people. You don't even have to ask for the information. You just get told it. If there was anything interesting, anything of note going on, you would hear about it straight away. You do not have to worry about, oh, am I going to miss out on this? What if the next pandemic happens? Am I going to know about it? Really? You think you're not going to know if the next pandemic happens? What if World War III happens? You think you're not going to hear about that? That is going to be all over the news. That's all anyone is going to be thinking about. You're going to hear it straight away. It is illogical to be concerned about missing anything when it comes to politics and current affairs, considering how much of it people are consuming and how little they can do with that information other than just telling other people. Now, think about the relevance of a lot of the information that you're receiving. When you think about all of this volume of information, all these bad things going on, if you stepped back and you looked at that information 3 months later, the amount of information that was irrelevant is almost 100%. I know someone who's pretty close to me who consumes a lot of politics and current affairs. And what happened was there was a war, I believe, going on between India and Pakistan. And because he's consuming hours of politics and news a day, that's like a really big deal. That's all this stuff's going on. It's like crazy. And he told us all about it. And we're like, oh, okay, that doesn't sound very good. A week later, it's over. If you zoomed out over the course of 3 months, that is an irrelevant piece of information because it was just resolved so quickly. It was not really a problem that has persisted. The amount of information that actually stands even 3 months is almost zero, which just shows you how irrelevant most of the information is. Because the reality is that news outlets have to keep producing news. They have to keep producing stuff. They can't just go, well, there's nothing going on in the world, we'll talk about nothing. They find something to talk about, and that becomes the big story. That becomes the big thing going on. There's always something that has to happen, but in reality, there's actually very few things going on that are massively impactful when you zoom out, even over quite a small time horizon. So, rant over. That is why I don't consume politics and current affairs. It's been 6 months and I'm not going back. I mean, my life has been so much better without it. I don't miss out on anything. I save myself a lot of time, a lot of headache. If you learned something new from this video, if maybe you're considering dialing back on the politics and current affairs, let me know about it. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. There's probably a video somewhere around here that you might be interested in, so I will see you in one of those.